This is Bill McMinn from Eagleville Bible Church, and this is the Way to Go podcast, where we talk about faith, family, and daily life, putting the Bible into practical, everyday terms. Welcome to the Way to Go podcast. Bill McMinn, Mark Hostetler. Glad that you are here with us today. We're talking some unity in the Bible, a very important topic: unity at home, unity on teams, unity in church, all the way through. And it says in Ephesians 4:1, as a prisoner for the Lord, then I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling you have received. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. There you have it, right? Make every effort to keep unity. There is one body and one Spirit, just as you were called to one hope when you were called. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is over all and through all and in all. Overall, we should strive at unity. Now, there are some situations, you go make the peace, the other person wants nothing to do with it. There's nothing you can do about it. Obviously, not everyone's going to unite with you. I had somebody one time, it was a pretty interesting story, and they said that, well, how come I can't be doing my ministry and stuff? You know, you're saying you're not united with me. This is a person that was like bucking leadership direction in a sinful way. Then they tell me, well, you're not unified with me, so therefore you shouldn't be up there. You shouldn't be preaching.
Wow.
Yeah. And I said, the difference is this. I'm the captain of the ship. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a big difference. I don't have to be unified with the thought of every single person, and especially when that person is not doing what the right thing is, and you've taken Scripture, talked to them about it, and then they're saying, well, you're not united with me. And guess what? And I don't have to be. I don't have to be united to every single thought that's out there.
That's interesting.
But unity is a team. Yeah, a team needs leadership. You know, unity is unifying, rallying behind, hey, here's what we're about. Here's what we're trying to accomplish. We're going to do it together. And there's peace and harmony there. When you have people that will not come together, will not go the direction. It'd be like if you had somebody, hey, we're going to play to a click track. Well, no, I'm not. You know, we're going to beat this time. No, I'm not.
You would lack harmony.
Right.
I mean, you would lack, as a team, you would lack harmony for sure. And the last part of that Ephesians 4 scripture says, God and Father of all, who is over all and through all and in all. And so if you've eliminated him out of that equation,
right,
like you're saying this guy did,
right,
you're going to have disunity, period,
right,
because
right,
he has to be our uniting force.
Right.
Like, we're doing everything according to his will and his glory,
well,
right?
And these people did quit. I mean, they did leave the team because they weren't, number one, I mean, you have to call out sin is sin. I mean, you got to nicely, kindly, patiently work with people. And in this case, there was a lot of time and a lot of patience, a lot of work and a lot of effort. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, I don't control all these things. So you can either come around, and if we're asking you to do something, it would be like if you have people on the musical team and you say, well, you got to be here Tuesday night to practice with us. And they're like, no, I don't need to be. I'm so good. I don't need to. Well, eventually they might not be playing anymore. And then they might whine about it and say, well, how come? Well, because you're not.
Because it doesn't matter how well you play that instrument. Right. What matters is that we're, number one, we are on the same mission of honoring God, not you. Number two, we're on a mission of building chemistry as a team. That's one of the reasons we rehearse. Right. I mean, if you really think about it, we don't need to rehearse that long every week. For crying out loud, we could probably come in Sunday morning and we'd be perfectly fine. The bigger reason for rehearsal is to build chemistry as a team, to pray together, to get beyond this, just the playing music, you know?
Right.
And so if you're not catching that vision, we're going to have a hard time.
Right. And that has not happened.
No.
We're being hypothetical. Right. We do not have these kind of, I try to throw stories.
The idea is there's a bigger, broader picture that maybe if you're not seeking unity, and you're only looking for what affects you, you're not willing to see the bigger, broader picture behind what a decision is being made or whatever. I mean, you're super focused on just you and how it affects
your
you.
brain, like you're just hitting, hammering this point. It's not about you.
Exactly.
It's not about you.
No.
And that's one thing who was it? Rick Warren brought it out. So Purpose-Driven Life. One of the main points of that book is it's not about you. And that's one thing that you got to learn when it comes to service, unity, and other people and being unselfish. Not about you. It's about a team. It's about, this is how we play. This is how it goes. Now, sometimes people in any given team have to set some direction, and then you want people to come behind it. So if it's Jay Shadle working at VBS, or it's Josh and Bill working on Adventure Club, or Sheila working in nursery, or it's Angela working in the Vine, whatever direction, they're setting, obviously their team has to get behind that direction, because unity doesn't happen when everyone's just going their own way. But I like it where it says here, and again, the whole point of this one body, one spirit, is all about unity here. It takes this: be completely humble and gentle. And that's right where you got to start. I mean, when you're talking about relating well to people, it does take a lot of humility, and you've got to be humble enough to hear a different opinion. You've got to be humble enough to realize you're not perfect, that you make mistakes. I always realize from day one, hey, Bill, the Bible's infallible. You're not. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like you can make mistakes, and you need to listen to other people. That's why God gives us other people. We work, and that's why we work as a team, is because we need that input from other people. And the more input and ideas and things that we come, I mean, that's how we learn and grow, as we work together as a team. And it takes that kind of humility not to have to be the main person.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And if you keep reading there, be patient. And here's the key: bearing with each other, in love. And like, I love how you just put that. Even as a leader, we have to recognize, especially as a leader, I should say, we have to recognize our decision could be wrong.
Right.
And you got to be humble enough to take the input of others.
Right.
And maybe adjust what you're doing here. Right. Because your decision could be wrong. Right. All right. And the way you're approaching it could be wrong. So, and also team members, okay? So you got to bear with some of the failures of the team members. Right. If they're not fulfilling your vision for that, you got to be patient and bear with them and be able to accommodate them as well.
Well, there's sometimes a leader where, you're making a call and you got to stand your ground, and you got to know what battles, hills to die on. Some hills you're going to die on, some hills you're not going to die on. And you got to know, what's important for the whole structure. Yeah. But here's the thing. Some things, like, let's say Trunk or Treat last year, that was under my leadership. Aaron was hugely helpful. So were a ton of other people. I want food out front. They're telling me we can't do it. I'm like, I don't understand why we can't do it. It ended up being in the back. Like, I didn't get my way on that one, but they said, Bill, you're talking about a bunch of crock pots. We don't have enough plugs over here. We don't. Okay. Well, I got to listen to that. And I did listen to that.
Yeah. And guess what?
Other ones are like, no, we got to park these people here. We got to do it this, because we want all kids, like, we're making some changes, and everyone got on board with it. And that was the good thing. If they didn't, I wasn't going to be changing my opinion, but everyone got on the board with it. The interesting thing, like in my experience as a pastor, some things I'm leading on, some things I'm not. And now when I'm not leading that area and I've given leadership to someone else, then I'm just fitting in. And I'm just helping out whatever my role would be. Yep. They're leading it.
That's right.
I'm just helping. So I'm just there to serve. And you have to have that kind of humility to be, hey, some things I'm leading, some things I'm leading is serving anyway, but some things I've got a back seat. You're not always the upfront guy. You're not always the one in lead of every single thing that happens. You don't have to be. You don't need to be in every picture. You don't have to be. You just do your part. They'll do your, that's what teamwork is.
Yes.
Right.
And to have the patience not to jump in when you think, oh no, they're not doing it the way I would have thought we should have done it or whatever. Don't jump in right away.
Right.
Give them the chance to lead it. Right. You don't have to do that. So I love this topic. I think it's something, it was very near and dear to Jesus' heart too. You read through John 17. I mean, you could see Jesus wants his children operating in unity. Like, it's so important to him. Because through unity, we're going to glorify God the most. We don't want to be fighting against each other. That's not what a team does. You don't want a wide receiver fighting against the quarterback. Like if the quarterback's telling you to go this way, when you see
it on the sidelines, they're getting mad and whipping helmets. It's never a good day.
No way. No, because disunity, the scripture says a house divided against itself will fall.
Right.
You're not going to survive that. Agreed. You have to be together on that. And sometimes togetherness means abandoning your own purposes, your own desires, and saying, you know what, for the good of the whole vision, I'm just going to come alongside this and do this, even though it might not be exactly the way I want it to be,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You've got to let the reason this church has grown a lot, and especially, and you look at the people involved in ministry, how many volunteers, is you allow people the chance to excel. You allow them the chance to make decisions, and You have to. I mean, that's how they're going to grow. They're not going to grow if you do all their thinking for them. They've got to, you help them. And sometimes you're like, yeah, not the way I would do it. But hey, that's cool. It's still done and no one cares.
Yep.
Bottom line, and no one cared.
Yep.
It's like that's how we did it, and that's fine. And you could have done it 10 other ways, and it would have all been fine too. And it's like, it's cool. It doesn't have to be, and that's the beauty of it. Because what I found, if every decision has to come through me or you or even all the pastors, you're going to bottleneck it.
Oh, man.
Something fierce, because we don't even have time to make all those decisions. So you would be waiting to move forward on anything where we want to turn you loose and let you minister. And so you see so much health in the church as you just allow people to minister, allow people to serve, and you're always playing as a team. You're just part of a team, because what you want is not about personal wins, it's about team wins. And as long as the team is winning, and the illustration that I have for this, I was thinking about earlier, I'm pretty sure it was Peyton Manning when he finally won a Super Bowl, did not really do a lot in that game. Now, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. In that Super Bowl game, not really. It was a handoff running, touchdown scored by running. He wasn't going to be a huge hero in that game, just the way it played out and what the game plan was. You got to be okay with that, because everyone still remembers Peyton Manning as one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. And whether that Super Bowl was won on his arm or was won on the legs of a great running back, it didn't matter. What mattered is team wins.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
I found that what helps me stay focused on unity most is when I can celebrate others and their victories.
Right. And you do a great job with that.
You got to be able to celebrate somebody else's victory and go, man, I love that they got this. You know what I mean? And it's not about me. Again, we come back to that main thing. The concept of unity is a state of oneness and togetherness.
Right.
That's what the concept of unity is you're together in this. You're not singled out. You're not, this is a team effort. On Sunday mornings, we are so blessed with a great team.
Right.
I need those guys around me. I love having Art behind me like that, running. Art does so much to keep us together. Like you said, he's got that click track. Art gives the congregation that left hand,
so we know they know
exactly when to clap. He could do a lot more on that drum.
Right.
Art is incredibly gifted on that drum.
Right.
He could do so much more. He reserves himself for the sake of the congregation, and he simplifies that drum beat to where he can, and everybody knows exactly what to do.
I watch his left hand all the time.
Absolutely.
Because that's how I know when I'm supposed to be clapping. And even then, it's still hilarious. So certain mornings are pretty funny watching people
But the reason he's got a unity mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.
He wants everything to be together.
Right. But here's one thing, though, the kind of going with some of what you were saying. Here's when I'm not always for the success of someone else, when they're prideful.
Oh, man, you're right.
I have a hard time then. Like, my wife can cheer me on in my success for me doing well if I'm not prideful about it.
That's right.
But if I'm sitting there all prideful, do you think she's going to be celebrating me? No. And if she was all prideful and having to have her own way, and she's all successful, but she walked all over me to get to that success, guess what? I'm not going to be celebrating that. She's not going to be celebrating that. It's just, again, you can celebrate people. This humility is so important. When you see their humility and they're just serving, man. They're just serving. They just love the Lord. They're not doing it for them. They're just doing it for others. You can celebrate it all day long. But when you catch that sniff of pride and it's about me, it's harder, just to be honest.
I'm telling you, you are nailing it, because the scripture says, let the praises come from other people's lips. And the other thing is, if you have this unhealthy desire to be affirmed all the time, and you're constantly saying, hey, didn't I do that good?
Yeah.
Hey, didn't I do that well? Did you see me do that over there? Did you see me do that? It's like, oh my goodness.
Well,
Stop,
I've learned a great one on this one. If I am good at something, and some things you're good at, some things I'm good at, and everyone listening, there's certain things that you are good at.
Yeah.
If you're truly good at it, you don't have to say it.
That's right.
Because they already know. But I'm telling you, if you're not, and you go tell someone how good you are and you're not, oh my goodness, man, they are not changing their opinions.
That's exactly right.
You might as well just shut up and let somebody else praise you.
When it comes right down to it, it really doesn't matter.
Right.
Because it's not about me.
But
it's not about us.
But here's another thing. It's not about us, but I like the bearing with one another in love part, because you have to bear with one another. And here's what that word literally means: put up with each other. It takes a lot of different personalities to accomplish things. And you've got to realize, hey, if everyone thought like me, this would be a boring world.
It would.
It really would be. Like, I don't want the whole world thinking like me. It wouldn't be probably as safe a place if everyone thought like me. So, and not everyone's going to think like you, and not my wife. I had to learn it with my wife. She's not always going to think the way that I think. And sometimes, because people are so different from you, you just have to, but they're doing a good job. It's just different. You know, they're not your per se cup of tea, let's say. Maybe they're too strong, or they're too soft, or they're too sweet, or they're too sour, whatever it is. You got to still bear with each other.
Absolutely.
And some things along the line, you just got to put up with it, and you just got to say, that annoys me some, because, hey, I'm annoying. You know, like, I've annoyed people. You don't think I've annoyed my friends? I've annoyed my friends at times. You know, I'm always joking around and all this stuff. But they put up with you in love. You know what I mean? And that's how we get along, and that's how we go. It's like, we're not perfect. You know, we realize that we all have flaws and we're not perfect. But when you love each other anyway,
that's right.
That really helps with it.
Love each other, and there's a really powerful word in helping build the sense of togetherness and unity. Appreciate people's perspective. Everyone comes to a meeting, to a decision, or whatever. They are carrying around their own unique perspective that they're bringing. I'm tunnel visioned on my own perspective, right? I need to broaden that vision out. I need to broaden that tunnel out if I'm going to, successfully execute something.
Right.
I need somebody else's perspective to help.
Yeah, there are times where, when things aren't mine and it has nothing to do with me, I just try to remind myself, it's not yours, it's got nothing to do with you, and mind your own dang business. You know what I'm saying? Because if that's the way they want to do it, they're not asking you to do it. They're doing it. It's their ministry. It's their thing. They have the right to do it the way they want without a bunch of, peanut gallery comments from me. So I think that's part of leadership too. It's knowing when to speak and when to shut up, and how to keep unity. And that part of keeping unity is knowing when to talk and when not to talk, and what you should say, what you shouldn't say. And you learn that over time as you pray for wisdom. But I love it.
Unity doesn't, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but unity doesn't mean agreement with each other all the time.
Correct.
I don't have to agree with every decision you make.
No.
It's my disposition to humble myself and say, you know what? I recognize my role here. I'm here to support. I'm not here to,
It's not uniformity.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's really just this sense of togetherness. It's this sense of, I'm going to humble myself under this position, and I'm just going to go with it.
But everyone has that. Like, everyone's got opportunities, even when you're the top, you know what I'm saying? You're the main leader. There's still going to be times when I remember years ago, and the trustees put in these doors in the church. I didn't like them because I didn't think that they were the right fit for the building. I didn't think that they would match an original door. They wanted them. I just supported them. Like, I wouldn't put those doors in, but that's what you guys want to put in. That's what you're going to put in. I'll tell you what, the rest of my years preaching there, the light would always come in those back, because I didn't want any windows in those back doors. The light would always come in and dance, and everybody watching it every Sunday morning, dance across the front. And that wasn't the only reason I didn't want it there. I just didn't think it was the right look. But I kept my mouth shut. You know what I'm saying? Because I said nothing about it. I mean, I am now 25 years later, whatever. I'm using it as an illustration of just, hey, there were times for me, I don't get my way on everything. And some things I'm like, hey, you know what? Not your call. There are other things that have happened here at the church, and I realize, hey, and it's not morality stuff. It's just, it's who do you hired or whatever it is. And I'd be like, do you want to make that decision, Bill? No, you do not. Then you will shut up and you will let the people that have been assigned to make those decisions, because if you interfere with their decisions, they're going to say, you do it yourself. And that's not what I want. You know what I mean? So I got to realize, hey, that I try to warn them and tell them that this person's going to react this way. This person's going to react. Which they did. But you try to put it out there. They hear it. They know, and that's their decision. And if that's what they're saying, then I come behind and support them. So I think you're in that role. You know, it could be with me. I'm in that role when it comes to other decisions at times where I'm like, hey, not my call, but that's okay, because not hurting anything. There's not wrong or right. Yeah. We had a fight to get the Windstream, the fiber optics. Yeah. Remember that? Yeah. Oh, we're not going to pay that much a month. We're not going to pay that much a month. And oh my goodness, so glad that we did. It was a nightmare. You couldn't live stream. You couldn't do anything. So we're like, yeah, we're going to pay more a month to have fiber optic. And they ran it directly into the building. Yeah, you're going to pay more. And it was a lot of work. However, we wouldn't be able to function. Like through COVID, was such an important
3 months
move.
before we had to shut down.
Yeah.
And we had to live stream our services.
Right.
We had to, or we, people at church for what, 3 weeks or something,
Right.
we're not going to be able to have a church service. 3 months or 2 months before that, we're getting fiber optic put in.
But some
here.
people had to support us that weren't
incredible.
supportive. Some people had to come around and say, "Hey, I don't get it. I wouldn't do it." And that's other of our buddies on staff and stuff like that. And then later coming back, man, was that a good call?
Yeah.
I'm super glad we did that because now I see it. We really needed it through this time, and it was God's leading and stuff. But that's, to me, it's just all the time. It's all the time being sensitive to people, all the time hearing what other people have to say, knowing what hills. My mom said you can't fight every battle, knowing what hills you're going to die on. I think it's just all part of humility, all part of patience, all part of bearing with one another in love, all part of keeping the peace. And I think that one of our responsibilities is you want to be peaceful. Now, one thing I will say, to the blessing of this church or to the benefit of it, primarily, I would say in my I don't even know. I forgot how long I've been here. This is 33 years. So in 33 years of being here, the boards have been, like the leadership of the church has been extremely unified.
Yeah.
Amazingly unified.
That's wonderful.
It is. I mean, and not only that, the entire church. And once in a while, somebody will have a rift here, rift there, or something they didn't like, something. That's probably inevitable, because whenever you're leading, somebody's not going to like it. So you get that. But I'll tell you, the unity here has been phenomenal. And a lot of it is based right in here in these scriptures. Why are we unified? Because we're not authoritarian, because we're not rolling over people, because we try to listen. We try to be humble. We try to do what's best. We're not here for us. Like, we're not running ministry that's best for us. We're running a ministry that's better for others. It doesn't matter about us. What about them, right? So,
agreed, Bill. Great points, man.
Yeah. So anyway, we appreciate you tuning in. You guys have a blessed week.